Got it.
Thank you. Once again, thanks everybody for coming on here. We appreciate everybody who can come on, and it's always nice seeing everybody a couple of times a month, and we really enjoy it a lot. We're going to kick it off right away with Geoff Babb today. Geoff is he's a good friend of a bunch of us over here in Central Oregon. I don't know, Geoff, did you grow up here?
I grew up about 3 hours north of here in the Columbia Gorge.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
you did.
Yeah, but so Geoff, we've known Geoff around Bend for a while now, and he started a business with his all-terrain wheelchair, and it's called the AdvenChair. A lot of you guys know Geoff. Those of you guys who don't, he, like I said, he lives in Bend. He's a 2-time stroke survivor, and his motivation really is to allow himself and others to reconnect with nature, because that's who he is. And you guys will find out more about that as we go. So, Geoff, I'm going to kick it off to you. And I didn't know if you had a PowerPoint or what you wanted to do here.
I do. Ben, are you letting me share?
Yeah, it's all set up, Geoff.
So how's that?
Perfect.
Beautiful.
1 second. So thanks, Keith and Ben, for inviting me. Glad to tell this story. It's a big high point and literally a low point for me to be in the canyon. It's a good thing. So a trip we did last April, been 6 years in the making. I'll explain that in a second here. I need to explain a bit about myself. Because I grew up in the Columbia Gorge, so I had Mount Hood out one window and Mount Adams out the other window. And I could play in them or play anywhere in the gorge. In 2005, my twin sons were 12, and we were rock climbing in Leavenworth. I was fighting fire in the summer, and my day job was I was the fire ecologist for Central Oregon. So I was out in the field quite a bit. November 10th of 2005, big day for me to remember. Excuse me. I had my first of what would be 2 strokes. My boys had just turned 13. And you all know the story behind strokes. So I had to reinvent myself. I was determined that I was still going to be an athlete. I was still going outside. I had no idea what that was going to look like. But I was able to find Oregon adaptive sports, and I could continue to ski with the boys. I became a planning section chief, so my job on fires was now in camp. I was in a leadership role that suited me, and I was able to be a fire ecologist from my wheelchair. The chair you see there in the bottom right is one that I had built up over the years. We called it a Franken chair because we just added stuff to it, but we had good mountain bike handlebars and brakes to control it. That front wheel allowed me to go off road. Well, importantly, about that time, I was riding horses at Healing Range, and about 2006, and I made the kind of audacious goal that I would, since I couldn't go backpacking anymore, I would ride a horse camping. And gee, maybe I could ride a mule in the Grand Canyon. So that was my goal for 8 years of riding. Unfortunately, in 2015, it was obvious that my riding wasn't to the point where I could ride 10 miles into the canyon and back. But about that time, I realized, gee, maybe my wheelchair was ready. So we drove down to Grand Canyon in September 16 in my AdvenChair and thought that it was ready to go. Well, it wasn't. And I look at this picture and just shake my head thinking, what was I thinking, that I was really going to be able to take this chair in the canyon? So my team had to carry me back up a half a mile inside of the Park Service, help us out to get the last mile and a half. We were 2 miles in. And I say, unfortunately, it was 2 miles, but fortunately, it was 2 miles and we weren't too far in. But that was the best thing that could have happened to us, because it took us back to square one. We brought in a project design engineer, Jack. They're in the right corner, big smiling guy. And we built it from the ground up. That was the best thing. And we came to this design after several iterations, something that is convertible from a 3-wheeled all-terrain chair to a regular 4-wheeled wheelchair for going inside the building. Well, we were lucky and fortunate to be able to patent this, and we are now patented with the only convertible wheelchair approved. It's strong. It's made of mountain bike components and sit skis. Going back to my time with Orient Adaptive Sports, and what really makes it unique as well is that it can be pulled, pushed, and lifted. Standard wheelchairs are not made to do that. So as you'll see in my slides, that pulling and lifting and pushing is pretty important. So after 6 years since our failure in 16, we were back with the crew of about 25 people. Came from 7 different states to help us out. We were permitted for 12 to go down over the rim. And then we had another 10 people or so in camp that helped us out. They helped us go over the rim, as well as taking care of us in our base camp. Is my volume okay? Everybody hear me?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, please, if I'm having trouble, raise your hand.
Hey, Geoff, that's pretty impressive. I really like that.
Well, good. Hopefully you'll still be impressed when we get done. So our goal here, again, we were the south rim of the Grand Canyon. I don't know how many of you have been there, but the rim itself is 6,800 feet. The river is 2,480 feet over a distance of 10 miles on the Bright Angel Trail. So we cut that into 4 or 5 mile days, thinking that was plenty to give us time to get to camp every night and take in the canyon. So again, we had base camp at the regular campground. We planned to go 5 miles to Indian Guard the first day. And this is what the top section looked like. I think there's about 11 switchbacks in that section from 6,800 feet to 3,800 feet. We knew that there would be supposedly 3,000 of these wooden water bars between the top and the river. Those were the least of our problems. And we knew that besides the mountain bike brakes and the good control we had, that we needed backup from at least one person in the rear to help with the braking. Well, end of April was beautiful in the canyon, and there was lots of wildlife. We saw hummingbirds, variety of birds, and some people did actually see the California condor flying over the canyon. Well, on day 2, we literally got to get our feet wet, which felt really nice. Garden Creek, kind of an oasis running from halfway down the canyon to the river. And we forded this stream 2 or 3 times throughout the morning until we came to this spot, which we were told was called Holy Jesus Corner.
I can see why.
Well, this spot down here, you notice that we'll see this spot again. That's about 800 feet lower and less than a mile. Show you some more pictures of that in a minute. Well, finally, we're at that iconic silver bridge on the river after about 8 hours. This was not a hiking trip. It was more like mountaineering, which again I was really glad to do, having been a climber in my early days, and my team was made up of climbers and mountain bikers and fitness instructors. So it was just a really great experience that everyone rose to the occasion. And finally, we were crossing the Silver Bridge at about mile 9 and pulling into camp at Bright Angel Campground. And this is the next morning, day 3. We had spent the night at this really nice rock shelter, big enough for the 12 of us. And then in less than 14 hours, we were back on the trail. Every night we went to bed saying we got to get up earlier and earlier. We were on the trail by 8, I think, that morning. But you can see this is called Bright Angel Creek. Comes from the north side of the canyon, goes out to the river. Now, here are the mules that I thought I would ride years before, and the Park Service was very specific in reminding us that mules have the right of way on the trails, and that we need to be proactive, and ideally would have walkie-talkies and a scout up front to let us know so we could be in a wide spot when the mules came by. And So we did. We had scouts with walkie-talkie, and and we were able to get the safe spots like this. These were known as the dude trains. People going from the rim down to Phantom Ranch and staying in cabins at the bottom. But there were also pack trains run by the Park Service, supplying trail crews and the ranger station down below. And we would have at least 2 trains a day to deal with. Out of this picture, you can see my orange helmet right down here as 10 mules came by, and we're jammed in this corner. But again, because of radios, we're able to find a good spot to get off. If you were go back to that picture I showed you earlier of this red rock, there's where we were. I'll show you another picture as we come back out. But it was a climb. Well, the important thing, other than staying out of the way of the mules, was that we contracted with the mule outfit to carry 90 pounds of food down to the bottom. So our day 2 and 3 food was waiting for us at the bottom. But then equally important was that at that point we knew we didn't need all our tents and some other gear. And we sent 70 pounds of gear, food, and garbage back up the hill on mules, saving us a lot of weight. So that was an important part of the trip. Well, there we are climbing up this area I didn't say before. It's called Devil's Corkscrew, very aptly named. If you see up here, you can see the trail going up there. Until finally there we were at the top, and there's the red rock, the mules passes. But I am grinning at this point. I'm happy with the top. And about an hour, my shoes were off and they were cooling off in the Garden Creek again. That was a momentous day. So it was beautiful, but tough. And my team was skilled. And we learned a lot about problem solving, the practice that we had done beforehand. Best thing was we learned about problem solving because the things we worked on at Smith Rock or Gray Butte didn't work in the canyon. But we adapted. And this spot here was called 2 Mile Corner. Well, for us coming back up, it represented 18 miles that we covered. We're on our way back up. We had 3 people at that point that hiked down to meet us. They brought us water. And we were pretty happy at that point. Well, this was 6 years earlier. Notice there's nobody in that chair. And I'm sitting on the ground and lots of glum faces. That's where we had to turn around. So we were celebrating 6 years later.
Oh, cool.
And then this shot here, we're less than a mile from the top, and we had pulled over. Fortunately, at this point, the trail was in shadows for the last mile or more. It wasn't too terribly hot, but we had stopped and I'd huddled the team together and asked them to think about where we'd been for the last 4 days, where we'd come as a team, where we'd grown individually. And we're all laughing because I got choked up there and people admitted they were choked up as well. It was a big accomplishment for all of us. And so many people said they've grown in so many ways, stepped out of their comfort zone, and done something they didn't think they would accomplish. Well, finally that night, we were drinking tequila around the campfire. And that's Jack, the engineer, pouring it. Jack unfortunately had a bad back and he couldn't go into the canyon with us, but he was there at the top waiting for us. And now, you've got your volume turned up. I want to show you a little video. It's just about 5 minutes long, and it'll show you versatility of the chair and how we get on the bus, but also the emotion of us being on this trail. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Can you all hear that? Aaron, you can't hear it?
No, don't want nothing. It's all right. There I go. There it goes.
Well, it started out down a dirty road. It started out all alone, and the sun went down as across the hill, and the town lit up, and the world got still. I'm ready to fly. Believe got wings coming down. It's the hardest thing. Now the good old days may not return, and the rocks might melt, and the sea may burn. I'm learning to fly. Everything got wings and coming down. It's the hardest thing. Yes, it is. Now some say life will beat you down. It'll break your heart, steal your crown. So start it out for God knows where. But I guess I'll know when I get there. I'm ready to fly, but I ain't got wings. I'm learning to fly. That's right. Tell you one day, baby, I'm gonna learn to fly. And fly over my trouble, fly over my worry, fly up high, blue sky, looking down on the world below. Way up over my world.
So, our trip on the Bright Angel Trail was definitely epic. It was, well, the term that people have given us on the trail is that the chair on my team is badass. But it was transformational for sure. But what's really important to us is not just the chair and the Grand Canyon was great to know we can do that, but the lives brightened by the adventure are priceless. His family on the left went to Machu Picchu with the chair. Noah with cerebral palsy enjoyed the couple here in the middle, a mother's son. She was able to go on a trail commemorating her late husband with the adventure. And Floyd on the right hopes to do the Camino de Santiago.
Really?
He has myositis. Unfortunately, with COVID, he's been delayed for 2 years now, but Floyd is our shining example of determination. There's just so many take homes out of this that when I reached the top of Devil's Corkscrew and Holy Jesus Corner, my team didn't even really stop to think about it. They were just determined to get me to the river. They were driven by that goal. And all I could say to myself was, I'm not going to sweat the small stuff anymore after this. And that image is still with me. Likewise, coming back up the hill, again, the team didn't stop to ponder that we'd have to climb back up what we just spent 2 days coming down. But at each one of those water bars, they were all held in place with rebar, and sometimes that rebar was sticking out along, just waiting to poke a hole in my tire. So my job was not pulling, but I was always aware of that rebar, and sometimes we're stopped to reposition folks, and I look up and 3 water bars up, there was some obvious rebar sticking out. And I wanted to say 3 bars up, there'll be some more rebar. Well, reality was that might be 10 minutes away. and several problems away. So I would learn to hold that thought and only tell them as we got close to watch out for that rebar. So my take home message there was one water bar at a time, one obstacle or one problem at a time. And so much of what we encountered on the trail was just what we as stroke survivors have to deal with. We have to keep the big picture in mind and not sweat small stuff and just take one problem at a time as they come to us. And I was so glad that Ethan, photographer, was able to come up with that Tom Petty song, because that just fits me, fits those of us with that are stroke survivors that we ain't got wings anymore, but we're still learning to fly. So so many more stories, so many more pictures to show, but so little time to do it. So please, do you have any question?
Well, I would like to make a comment. First of all, Geoff, I've been in Wichita for 12 years, and you've got to be so grateful for your team. Those teammate people made what you did possible. And the advent of that chair is incredible looking. So my hat's off to you, brother.
Yes. I told them so many times throughout the trip how grateful I was. And so many of them just said, we're doing this for Geoff.
If I can add on to what Aaron just said, which was a great comment, by the way. You know, I made a bunch of notes, but you know, the skills and there's some other things, but one of those things to me was the trust that you have to have in others as well. You know, and as stroke survivors, there's a bunch of us on here that we have to have that trust. But Geoff, I mean, think about the trust you had to have in everybody that was on your team there. And do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. I had to have a lot of trust, and particularly looking over the edge. But at the same time, I felt like I was the safest member of the team. I had a helmet on. I was had two straps around me, a chest, and my seat belt. I always had at least two sets of hands on me, if not more. People were not going to let me go. But meanwhile, you saw the packs that people were carrying, 40 pounds or so, you know, throwing their balance off over the edge. And they were the ones at risk.
Yeah.
But I had complete trust in them. And at the same time, they had trust in me that we were making the right choices.
Yeah. So there really wasn't any points in the whole journey that you felt scared or anything like that?
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah,
I'd be lying if I said that. But
Well, so tell us real quick.
tell you what, when I was not.
Tell me one of the points that you were scared.
Well, I should have pointed it out, but the water bars and rocks were angled to run water off the trail, and sometimes that pointed, oh well, to get over them, we would have to square my wheels up and, you know, pull them evenly over. Well,
Yeah.
sometimes that put me closer to the edge than others, and So I would admit I got pretty nervous, but finally by day 4, the team was just clicking.
Yeah,
clicking. I worked on hotshot fire crews when I was younger, and my team was performing at a high level, and I
yeah.
just trusted them.
Awesome. One other thing I had here, well, two, real quick, and then I don't mean to take the time for everybody, but I'd like to know, what did you learn? What specific thing would you say, I really learned something from this trip that we took?
Well, it reinforced trust, it reinforced not sweating, it reinforced being prepared. We found out 4 months in advance that we had the permits, and we did practice hikes a couple days a week. We had planning meetings once a week, and several of us were firefighters, so we had that training. So being prepared and being aware of what was ahead of us.
Yeah,
Not
that's
to,
awesome.
not to say there weren't any surprises, because there were, but
Now, where else are you gonna go?
I get that question all the time. I'm not quite sure yet. It'll be equally as epic, but maybe not as far away next time. But it's nice to know that the chair and team can go to places that we do, but it's not always comfortable or enjoyable for any of us to do that. So,
Mhm. Yeah, it takes quite a team to do stuff like this.
yeah.
Well, your
I-
boy,
I have a comment too, Keith, when they're ready.
go ahead, Aaron.
Well, Jeff, like I said, I've been in Wichita 12 years, so I can relate. But I can think back all the way back to the very start of all this. Congratulations for you thinking you could do something. And Bev and I have talked about this. So many times Stokes said you can't. I can't. I can't. You can't. You can't. And so don't listen to it. You can. Jeff, thank you for saying you can in the very beginning of life.
Very good, very good. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
saying I can means also accepting that I can, but it might be different than what I used to do.
Absolutely.
But for me to do the can in a wheelchair with the team just took a whole different approach. I again used to climb mountains with the team and fight fires with the team. So now I got to do this trip with the team.
That's awesome.
But the last pictures I said too about brightening lives is to a lot of people, going to a wild place may just be going to a city park, going in your backyard. And that's just as important as me going to on the canyon. So we all have our Green Canyons.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that was an awesome presentation, bud. We appreciate it very, very much. And yeah, it was incredible. Ben, can you take the thing back and we can see everybody and move forward here?
I'll just say one last thing is that I've talked to Renee about this a little bit. If there's going to be a stroke awareness picnic or some sort of outdoor event, I'll be bringing the AdvenChair and bring an extra one that people can try it out. Realize people outside Central Oregon can't do that, but the couple that went to Machu Picchu, He is a stroke survivor.
Hmm.
It's a wonderful story himself. So thank you for letting me share the story.
Thank you.
Well,
Jeff, Jeff, will you share with everybody a little bit of the national publicity you've gotten on this?
On the chair in general, I've been on NPR and Outside Online Magazine, and Oregon Field Guide, which is for those if it's in Oregon, is a public broadcasting story. So now we're working on social media, trying to share our story.
Well, Jeff, you know, I host a podcast. Sorry, Keith. I invited you to join me on my podcast, and well, let's get together and promote your chair and freedom.
I'd love to do that. Did you invite me on chat or?
Yeah, it's in chat.
Okay, so I'll make sure to find that. I might have to drop out or have a meeting at 4, but yeah.
one thing, real quick, guys, and I'm just gonna offer this too. Ben, did you know, and you probably do know this already, but that you can print the chat on these?
All right. Yeah. Well, that's
Down,
you're
down-
teaching me something about technology, man. That's awesome.
down on the very
Oh.
bottom. Not me. It ain't me. But on the very bottom, there's a little paper icon, and there's stuff down on the bottom. Look through that, would you? And then that way we could
You
print.
don't have to print it. You just said those 3 little dots next to a smiley face. It'll give you a prompt to download the chat.
Huh.
You
Yeah,
can
yeah, you can
download
save it. We're gonna create a segment on SAO's website called "How to Save the Chat," brought to you by the support group. And I'm gonna
No, no.
save this clip.
Cool.
It's the 3 dots right about where you type in the chat.
We're gonna call it the 3 dots by Aaron Avia, and so because he knows what he's doing.
But
I appreciate that, bud. That was good. So thank you so much, Jeff. I mean, that was incredible. What a great.
Hey, Jeff,
Story.
I'll tell you what, this is very inspirational for a lot of people.
Well, I hope so. That's a big goal of mine, is to inspire people not to just go to the Grand Canyon, but to be outside and find their own Grand Canyon.
Awesome.
So if anybody want me to share this story with different groups, I'd be glad to do that. And I can't find Aaron's
I
chat.
put it in the chat again. I'll put it.
Jeff, I just
there it is.
emailed it to you. Actually, I emailed you the link. So
I'll put it in the chat. Direct message you, Jeff. It should be a direct message.
Got it.
Yeah.
In my.
Ben's on top of it. Ben's got it going on. So he already emailed Jeff.
Yeah, I don't wear a cowboy hat like Aaron, so I don't really use the chat too much. But I'm a bit on
Don't
emails.
be so modest. You're cool.
Would you, Aaron, Ben, put AdvenChair.com into the.
Oh, you got it, Jeff. I'll put in the chat.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Right,
you,
I'll
bud.
turn it back over to you. Keith.
All right. Thank you, bud. That was awesome. We really appreciate that. That was a great
Hey,
story.
Jeff, congratulations, bud.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Yeah. So just to keep going here for another 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about. Ben, I sent you a link, if you don't mind sharing that, from Carol Ann from Destination Rehab. They're hosting a free webinar on heat management. And I thought that was probably pretty good based on what we're all going through right now. And so what we'll do is we'll put out a replay of this, and we'll put this out tomorrow before that that goes live, but if anybody needs that, you can copy it and paste it on a Word document or something, so you have it in case I don't get it out in time. But
Keith, I'm guessing that playing golf in 99-degree weather is not on the heat management program for strokes.
is that what you've been up to, Jim?
That's what I did yesterday and it wiped me out.
That is just mental toughness, and that's training. That's all it
I
is.
stayed hydrated and kept swinging and chasing that little white ball. And I felt when I was done, man, I might not do this again. But I'm
No,
going
you're
to say I can, and I'll try again on another day.
better be careful. Bevan's gonna chew you out here in a second. I
Nah,
thought
I'm not a
that
real doctor. It's all right. Hey Geoff, did you set any records by doing this thing?
Good question.
We were not the first wheelchair. There was a teenage kid who didn't look like he's very heavy, but I think they carried him part of the way. And then there was that one wheel contraption. I'm not sure how fast they went, so we'll call it the fastest known time for an AdvenChair.
Yeah, I'd look into that. I think I'm just assuming that you set some records for sure.
Yeah.
He may be the only stroke survivor that's ever done it.
Yeah,
There we
and
go.
wheels on the ground and distance. I think you got a lot. I think you should. It's time to start counting your chickens.
Yeah. Well, more than anything, what I want to do is inspire other people to do something similar. And I could kind of envision some vets in particular, younger vets who want to help a comrade do something along like that. So,
how cool is that? Now, is it, maybe it's not apropos for me to ask this, but I hope sales are going well for you, Geoff. I hope things are picking up.
they're steady. It's a spendy item.
How much is it?
The base model is about 10,000.
Oh my God. No.
We're not making money off of it, unfortunately.
Crazy.
Do insurance companies help cover some of the cost?
It's not a medical necessity.
Well, for people who want to do things like you did, it is.
But I just this weekend gave a demo to a couple that he's a stroke survivor. We will see him on the calls eventually, but it's his wife who was ecstatic about it because she is a runner and she found that she could run with him on the roads, and it was like her sense of freedom was back, that she'd be able to take Lincoln on the trail. So we'll be out with them again pretty soon. I think they're pretty excited about what they can do.
Let me just, can I say, Keith, a minute, just to pump some much time. But Geoff, I may not be the purchase bike. It's your attitude. It's your attitude of overcoming. It's not the bike that made you that way. It's the way you were thinking you could do it. Now, I'm just so impressed with that.
Me too. And not only that you think you could do it, but it took the time. I made the note here somewhere, but all the time it took for you to get over the edge, to develop that wheelchair, to go through. I mean, that took a lot of time and energy, and you
And
stayed the
dedication to
course.
stay with it.
Yeah, dedication, and you just stayed the course and you kept going. And I, for one, am super proud to know you and to know what you did.
My brain is still there, and I was able to, channel my thoughts and my ideas to people that have hands that work. My hands don't work, I can't walk, but my brain is sticking, and so I was just grateful to be able to use that. And just again, like I said earlier, it was different than I may have done 17 years ago, but it's all the more satisfying.
Absolutely. Michael, did you have a question or were you just? I can't hear you, bud.
No, you're muted. You muted. You're mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was waving at my wife.
This is
Waving for
becoming
another
a,
Bloody Mary.
This is part of the routine almost every time now. You get to wave at your wife.
And I will say, I noticed at the bottom of the screen, it's Amy Kazmaier, who's an old friend of mine, been with me in the development of the chair, and she's not a stroke survivor, but she's a stroke survivor enabler for sure. She was right there with us. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah,
Hi,
hi.
everyone.
Hey, real quick, a couple more things. Hey, Amy, nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, it was a good presentation for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, Jeff.
Thanks,
It
Amy.
was.
So are you in a lot of those pictures too, Amy?
Well, I was playing logistics up top, so I only went over the edge a couple miles because I didn't want to be a liability. My knees aren't the greatest, so I thought I'd probably just help from the top, but got to be a part of the planning, so that was pretty awesome to see that the plan actually worked.
Crazy cool. It is very, very neat that that worked out. So we appreciate you guys so much for showing us everything. And I know you're up against it here. Couple other quick things I just wanted to say. First of all, anybody have a stroke anniversary this month? No?
Oh, Jim.
Jim. Jimbo. You're muted.
My wife likes when I'm muted. My July 11th,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Awesome, buddy.
2
What kind
years.
of anniversary? How long, Jim?
2 years.
There you go, bud.
2 years. Yeah. We're glad you're with us, buddy.
Thank you.
For sure. Yeah. Just to recognize everybody, you can go to strokeawarenessoregon.org anytime. Remember, we have a book that's for sale and
I got it.
okay. I'm dropping stuff. So get the book and gosh, we appreciate real quick. One more thing. We got people set up for August 9th, August 23rd, September 13th, August 9th. We're going to have an open meeting. Kim O'Kelly wanted to talk about vulnerability. So I think that's a good topic for us all to talk about. And then we got Blaze Morrison he's a doctor from back east, is going to join us on August 23rd. Then we have Melissa, Michael, your friend that does Stroke Jeopardy. We're going to do that on September 13th.
Well, fun.
Yeah. Thank you guys, all of you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Appreciate all of
Bye.
you so much.
I look
Bye,
forward to
everybody.
talking to you.
Bye-bye, guys.